The moon hung high in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the dilapidated building that loomed before me. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to turn back, to flee from the looming darkness that seemed to seep from the very walls of the structure. But I couldn't tear my gaze away. Curiosity gnawed at me, urging me forward despite my fear. It had all started weeks ago, with a dare from my friends to explore the old abandoned building on the outskirts of town. They had regaled me with tales of its haunted past, of spirits that roamed its halls and whispered secrets in the dead of night. At the time, it had seemed like nothing more than a harmless prank, a way to prove my bravery and earn their respect. But now, as I stood before the imposing structure, I couldn't help but wonder if I had made a grave mistake. Taking a deep breath to steady my nerves, I stepped forward, the crunch of gravel beneath my feet echoing through the silence of the night. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and I could feel a chill creeping up my spine as I approached the entrance. The door creaked open on rusted hinges, revealing a yawning darkness that seemed to swallow the feeble light of my flashlight. Heart pounding, I stepped into the building, my footsteps echoing through the empty halls. The air was stale and musty, thick with the weight of years gone by. Dust motes danced in the beam of my flashlight as I made my way deeper into the darkness, my senses on high alert for any sign of danger. As I explored the building, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Shadows danced at the edge of my vision, fleeting glimpses of movement that vanished as soon as I turned to look. My heart raced as I pressed on, determined to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within the walls of the old building. It was then that I saw her, a girl standing beneath a gnarled old tree that grew in the center of the building's courtyard. She was dressed in a tattered white dress, her hair hanging in limp, greasy strands around her pale face. I froze, my breath catching in my throat as I stared at her in disbelief. "Who are you?" I called out, my voice trembling with fear, but the girl remained silent, her eyes fixed on something unseen in the darkness beyond. And then, with a whisper of movement, she was gone, disappearing into the night like a ghost. Shaken to my core, I stumbled out of the building and into the cool night air. My mind raced with questions, each more terrifying than the last. Who was the girl? What had she been doing in that abandoned building? And most importantly, was she even real or just a figment of my imagination? Unable to sleep, I spent the rest of the night tossing and turning. The image of the girl's haunted eyes burned into my mind. When morning finally dawned, I knew that I couldn't rest until I had unraveled the mystery of the abandoned building and the girl who haunted its halls. Determined to find answers, I set out to do some research, scouring the internet for any information I could find about the building's history. It didn't take long for me to uncover a wealth of information, including news articles detailing the building's dark past. As it turned out, the building had once been a thriving hotel, frequented by travelers from far and wide. But decades ago, tragedy had struck when a fire broke out in the building, claiming the lives of dozens of guests and leaving the structure in ruins. Since then, it had remained abandoned, a crumbling relic of a bygone era. But it was the story of one particular guest that caught my attention, a young girl named Emily, who had been staying at the hotel with her family at the time of the fire. According to the articles I found, Emily had been the sole survivor of the blaze, miraculously escaping unharmed, while the rest of her family perished in the flames. It was a chilling tale, made even more so by the fact that Emily had never been found after the fire. Some speculated that she had perished along with her family, her body lost in the ashes of the burned-out hotel. But others whispered of a different fate, of a girl who had somehow managed to cheat death and now roamed the halls of the abandoned building, her spirit trapped for all eternity. As I delved deeper into the mystery, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Emily's story than met the eye. There were too many unanswered questions, too many gaps in the official accounts of what had happened that fateful night. And then, there was the girl I had seen in the building, the girl who bore a striking resemblance to the long-lost Emily. Determined to uncover the truth, I enlisted the help of my friend Sarah. Together, we set out to explore the abandoned building once more, armed with flashlights and a burning desire for answers. But as we ventured deeper into the darkness, it quickly became clear that we were not alone. Strange noises echoed through the halls, disembodied whispers that sent shivers down my spine. Shadows danced at the edge of our vision, flitting in and out of sight like wraiths in the night. And then, just as before, we saw her, The girl in the white dress, her eyes empty and hollow as she stared at us from the shadows. "Emily?" I whispered, my voice barely more than a breath. But the girl remained silent, her gaze fixed on us with an intensity that made my blood run cold. And then, with a flicker of movement, she was gone, disappearing into the darkness like a ghost. Heart pounding, Sarah and I fled from the building, our footsteps echoing through the empty halls as we raced for the safety of the outside world. But even as we emerged into the cool night air, I knew that we were not free from the darkness that lurked within the abandoned building. For weeks, Sarah and I obsessed over the mystery of Emily and the haunted building. We scoured old newspaper archives, interviewed locals, and even ventured back into the abandoned building in search of answers. But no matter how hard we tried, the truth remained elusive, slipping through our fingers like grains of sand. And then, just when we were ready to give up hope, we stumbled upon a clue. A faded photograph tucked away in the archives of the local historical society. It was a picture of Emily, taken on the day of the fire, her face filled with fear as she stared out from the crumbling ruins of the hotel. But it was what lay in the background of the photograph that caught our attention. A gnarled old tree, its branches twisted and deformed against the darkening sky. It was the same tree that stood in the courtyard of the abandoned building, the same tree beneath which Emily had been seen so many times before. With renewed determination, Sarah and I set out to uncover the secrets of the tree and the role it played in Emily's fate. We interviewed experts in the paranormal, consulted with historians, and even reached out to psychics in search of answers. But no matter how hard we tried, the truth remained just out of reach, a tantalizing glimpse of something beyond our comprehension. And then, just when we were on the verge of giving up hope, we received a breakthrough, a letter from an elderly woman who claimed to have been a guest at the hotel on the night of the fire. According to her account, the hotel had been the site of a terrible tragedy years before, when a young girl had been found dead beneath the gnarled old tree in the courtyard. The girl's name was Emily, the woman wrote, and she had been staying at the hotel with her family at the time of the fire. But it wasn't the flames that had claimed Emily's life. It was something far more sinister. According to the woman's account, Emily had been lured to the tree by a malevolent force, a darkness that dwelled within the very heart of the abandoned building. As Sarah and I read the woman's words, a chill ran down my spine. Could it be that Emily's spirit still lingered within the halls of the old hotel, trapped for all eternity by the same darkness that had claimed her life so many years before? It seemed impossible, unthinkable, and yet the evidence was impossible to ignore. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah and I returned to the abandoned building one last time, armed with everything we had learned in our search for answers. As we stepped into the darkness, I felt a sense of unease settle over me, a feeling that we were treading on ground that was not meant to be disturbed. But we pressed on, driven by a need to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within the crumbling walls of the old hotel. And then, just as before, we saw her, the girl in the white dress, her eyes empty and hollow as she stared at us from the shadows. "Emily," I called out, my voice trembling with fear. But the girl remained silent, her gaze fixed on us with an intensity that made my blood run cold. And then, with a flicker of movement, she was gone, disappearing into the darkness like a ghost. Heart pounding, Sarah and I ventured deeper into the building, our flashlights cutting through the darkness as we searched for any sign of the darkness that had claimed Emily's life so many years before. And then, just as we were about to give up hope, we stumbled upon a hidden staircase leading down into the depths of the building. With a sense of trepidation, Sarah and I descended into the darkness, our footsteps echoing through the empty halls as we searched for answers. And then, just as we reached the bottom of the staircase, we saw it. A flickering light, dancing at the edge of our vision like a beacon in the darkness. With a sense of dread, we followed the light, our hearts pounding in our chests as we stepped into a vast, cavernous chamber hidden deep beneath the abandoned building. And there, at the heart of the chamber, we found it, the source of the darkness that had claimed Emily's life so many years before. It was a creature of pure malevolence, a shadowy figure that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy as it loomed over us in the darkness. With a sense of horror, we realized that it was the same darkness that had lured Emily to her death so many years before, a darkness that had claimed countless lives over the centuries. But even as we stared into the abyss, A sense of determination rose up within us, a determination to banish the darkness once and for all and free Emily's spirit from its eternal prison. With a shout, we charged forward, our weapons raised high as we prepared to do battle with the darkness that had haunted us for so long. And then, with a blinding flash of light, the darkness was gone, banished back into the depths of the earth from whence it came. And as the echoes of our victory faded into the darkness, I knew that we had finally found the peace that had eluded us for so long. As Sarah and I emerged from the abandoned building, the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the world below. And as we stood there, bathed in the light of the rising sun, I knew that we had finally laid Emily's spirit to rest, freeing her from the darkness that had held her captive for so long. And though the memory of our harrowing journey would stay with us for the rest of our lives, I knew that we had done something truly remarkable, something that would live on in the annals of history for generations to come. For we had faced the darkness head-on and emerged victorious, our spirits unbroken, and our hearts filled with hope for the future. And as we turned to leave the abandoned building behind us, I couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought us to this moment, a journey that had tested us in ways we could never have imagined. But as we stepped out into the light of the new day, I knew that we had emerged from the darkness stronger and more resilient than ever before, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and determination. For we were the heroes of our own story, the champions of light in a world filled with darkness. And as we walked away from the abandoned building, hand in hand, I knew that we had finally found the peace that had eluded us for so long, a peace that would stay with us for the rest of our days.